Let's discuss the basic definitions of an initiative and referendum. Initiative is the reserved power of the people. The Arizona Constitution states that 10% of the qualified electors shall have the right to propose any measure, and 15% shall have the right to propose any amendment to the Constitution. This means that the people have the power to create laws and amendments to the Constitution independently of the legislature. The people have a direct say in the legislative process and can influence laws that govern them. The referendum power in Arizona's Constitution is reserved for the people to approve or reject at the polls any act or item, section, or part of any act of the legislature before it takes effect. Voters do, however, only possess this power for a limited time, and they need a petition with the required number of valid signatures. Next, we will discuss how initiative and referendums are created. An initiative petition first needs to be filed with the Arizona Secretary of State, where citizens draft a proposal, law, or amendment. Second, there is a collection of signatures wherein supporters must collect a certain number of valid signatures from registered voters. With statutory initiatives, signatures must equal 10% of votes cast for governor in the last election. With constitutional amendments, there needs to be 15% of those votes. Thirdly, there needs to be a submission to the voters. If the signatures are verified and sufficient, the measure will be placed in the next general ballot for a statewide vote. Finally, the initiative will either be approved or rejected. To be approved, a majority yes vote will make the measure law. In creating a referendum, first the legislature passes a law. Next, the opponents of that law will file a referendum petition within 90 days of that legislature adjourns. The process is similar to the initiative, where they will need to collect verified signatures that equal 5% of the votes cast for governor in the last election. If enough signatures are filed and verified, the law will be suspended until the voters decide. On the next general ballot, a yes vote will approve the law, where a no will reject it. There are key differences to Arizona's initiative and referendum. To start, an initiative is set up for the people to propose or enact new laws or constitutional amendments, where the referendum gives the people the power to reject the laws passed by the legislature. An initiative creates new legislation or amends the Constitution independently of the legislature, where a referendum gives voters a chance to veto or approve acts of the legislature before they take effect. The initiative and referendum are both started by the citizens, but the initiative is used before any legislative action, and the referendum is used after the legislature passes a law. When looking at the signature requirements, the initiative requires a 10% votes or a 15% for constitutional amendments, where the referendum only requires a 5% of votes. The initiative petition must be filed 4 months before the next general election, where the referendum must be filed within 90 days after the legislature adjourns their session where the latest law was passed. In an initiative, no law shall exist until voters approve it. In a referendum, a law is suspended and only takes effect after voters approve it. In both the initiative and referendum, a yes vote enacts the law or keeps the legislative act, where a no vote rejects it. There are no doubt pros and cons of both the referendum and initiative processes in the Arizona Constitution. To begin with the advantages, they both give voters a direct voice in lawmaking rather than relying solely on the elected officials. This gives the people assurances that they too have the power to make change for the betterment of their own society. They reflect the will of the people, strengthening democratic participation. They can act as a check on the legislation, preventing unpopular or special interest laws from taking effect through referendum. This encourages legislators to be cautious and more responsive to the opinions of the public. Initiatives and referendums allow the citizens to propose new ideas or reforms that the legislature might ignore, like minimum wages or education funding measures. They both promote civic education and debate on important social, economic, and political issues. This leads to increased voter turnout when controversial measures are in the ballots. When looking at the disadvantages, there can be an influence on money and special interests. The collection of signatures and running campaigns can be very expensive. There is a chance for the wealthy groups or corporations to dominate the process and push their self-serving interests and measures. Another con could be the complex language that is used in the ballots, leading to confused voters. It can also be difficult for voters to amend or repeal a law, making it difficult for the legislature to change even if problems arise later. Arizona often sees many ballot measures which can overwhelm the voters and make elections more complicated and even deter the public from attending to each item on the ballot. This, in the end, can reduce the quality of the decision making abilities of each voter. Now we will discuss how initiative and referendum support direct democracy. Both the initiative and referendum are direct democracy tools allowing citizens to participate directly in lawmaking. They both limit the power of the legislature and emphasize the people's legislative authority. The people can make or reject laws, not just elect representatives to do it for them. Initiatives allow voters to create laws without going through the legislature, being the purest form of direct lawmaking. This is a way for the people to act as lawmakers, expressing their will through the voting process. The referendum process lets the citizens reject and approve the laws passed by the legislature. This process holds elected officials accountable and reinforces the idea that political power rests with the people, encouraging public participation in debate, giving people control over the lawmaking process, and ensuring the government remains responsive to the will of the people are the core responsibilities of both the initiatives and referendum of Arizona's Constitution. Thank you.